Okay, now we will go meet recording. Before anything, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all your guys here today. Thank you very much for being part of this important phase in Santiago's academic career. So the reason to be here is because Santiago will present his final thesis. That is the last step in order to get the PhD in our research program in movement science. So if approved today, Santiago will get a title of PhD in physical therapy. So we present his thesis. The title is Impact of Sports Participation on the Occurrence of Musculoskeletal Pain in Adolescents During 28 Weeks of Follow-Up ABCD Group Study. We have the pleasure to have here today with us Professor Everett Hagen, Marta Guimanova, Franciele Vanderlei, Professor Cristiano Oliveira, and Professor Jefferson Cardoso. Thank you for being here today. On behalf of Santiago and my name and my colleagues here as well. So just let me refresh your minds how gonna be today, all the process. Santiago will he will have between the maximum of 35 minutes. After this 35 minutes in his presentation, all members of the jury will have 5 minutes for final comments. So directed to Santiago. After this moment, I will ask a private moment with the members of the jury. Santiago will leave this room and also the audience. We will stop. We're sharing this presentation in the YouTube, so we'll stop all this sharing, and we will talk and decide about his future. After the final decision, I will communicate Santiago, and after this, Santiago will have 5 minutes for his final words. So, Santiago, is everything set?
Yes.
Okay. So, once more, thank you very much for all you guys to be here, participate of this event, and also the audience is here watching Santiago. Thank you very much. So, Santiago, feel free to start. The audience is all yours.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much to be here. It's so meaningful for me. I'm Santiago, and I'm a part of the Movement Science, the program of post-graduation at the Sao Paulo State University. And we are here to present my dissertation with the title Impact of Sport Participation on the Occurrence of Musculoskeletal Pain in Adolescents During 28 Weeks of Follow-Up ABC Study, by the supervision of Professor RÓMULO ARAÚJO FERNANDES. Just want to check something.
Try.
Wait. Okay. So, following regarding the orders by the program, this thesis presents relevant information for the development of the objective health and well-being. The goal 3 to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. For this thesis, the target population is adolescents who, through sport participation, seek to enhance the physical integrity, considering relevant care for the practice of the physical activity domains. So I will start by the context. Pain is a significant concern in pediatrics, prompting research in the recent decades. First, because it has become highly prevalent, with rates that can vary up to 60%. Second, it's an important factor regarding the GBS information. Important factor to contributing years of life disability among children and adolescents. Fact that can increase with age. And third, has been shown to be a highly socioeconomic cost, mainly for lost productivity and healthcare costs for parents and caregivers. So, as a result, strategies to control this condition are increasing value. As an example, the encouragement for programs in physical exercise has been pointed out as relevant issue in the prevention of pain. However, when we're talking about sports as the main manifestation of physical exercise in the adolescents, it seems to be paradoxical, because the sport participation can increase the probability of any injury, musculoskeletal discomfort, or even pain. As I pointed out, this result of this surveillance system can bring us a result that technical sport, due to his high physical demands, present a higher risk regarding comparison with other sport modalities. So this raises a concern about the physical integrity among children and adolescents. The controversy continued because the literature vaguely addressed the association between pain events and sport participation variable as volume engagement, intensity, and frequency, because the mainly focus are in the elite height level in adulthood. And regarding another important factors, that variables, that sex, this surveillance system show us that in fact the girls can report more pain events than boys. However, how these sex difference will be interact with the other sport variables and the growth is rarely made by the literature. And the growth, adolescence is a critical period during the growth. As fact, the biological and chronological age can differ from each other, leading to poorly optimized, predicted period. Information that not account coaches and parents, so that can lead for any musculoskeletal discomfort, injury, or even pain. In fact, these systematic reviews summarize all this information and show us that the meaningful association between biological maturation, growth, and musculoskeletal condition in adolescence is helpful. All this because the topic provides limited evidence due to the high risk of bias. So this is why I arise the following hypothesis: that the role biological maturation will be not relevant. And second, the incidence of pain over our follow-up period will be affected by parameters of sport participation. The prevalence of pain will be higher among adolescents engaged in organized sport, and girls will report more pain than boys over our follow-up period. The objective was to explore the association between sport participation and the incidence of pain among adolescents in 28 follow-up period, as well as to identify the role potential variables into this phenomenon. For the specific objective, I tried to identify in 28 weeks follow-up study the impact of different sport, the incidence of pain among adolescents, and second, to compare the incidence of pain between adolescents engaged and not engaged in sport participation, as well as to explore the role of sex, biological maturation, and parameters of sport participation into this association. For the methods, this longitudinal study was carried out in the middle-sized Brazilian city at the west of Sao Paulo, Presidente Prudente. It's a longitudinal study that was developed inside an ongoing research project called Analysis of Behavior of Children During the Growth, ABC Growth Study, by the supervision of Professor RÓMULO. For my sample, it was composed by adolescents that I divide into big groups. The first group, adolescents who is not engaged in sport, that is the control group. The second group was the sport group. To answer the specific objective that I mentioned above, I split the sport group into two groups: the swimming group and the other sports. For the inclusion criteria, I use for adolescents engaged in sport, previous engagement at least 12 months in the current sport, the absence of clinical metabolic disorders, no regular use of medication, age between 11 and 17, and bring back the written consent from Spain by the parent, a legal guardian. For the control group was similar, just no regular engagement in any sport, program of physical exercise over the last 12 months. For the sample size calculation, I take into account the previous results. So the final sample size was set at minimum 62 participants completing the follow-up assessment. For the first manuscript, I used a total sample of 63, divided by the swimming group, composed by 18 adolescents, and other sport groups composed by 45 adolescents. For the manuscript number 2, I used a total sample of 95, using the control group with 32 adolescents and sport group 63 adolescents. My principal outcome was pain. Adolescents were tracked weekly by the research team reporting the occurrence of pain through the Nordic Dictionary. That is a useful tool for school physical activity programs for individual and even in team sports. The researchers contact all the adolescents and the coach staff weekly to avoid possible all the recall bias, considering the positive report of pain through the week. The adolescents received and access an online form which should be completed through the week. We can show the skin of the body subdivided into regions: upper body, as the neck, shoulder, chest, elbow, low back, and the lower body: wrist, hand, hips, knee, and ankles and feet. For my independent variable sport participation, taking account how long have been practicing the sport modalities, how many days a week they participate in the sport, and how long a day the adolescents train during the day. All these in minutes. For my independent variable resistant training, taking account the practice resistant training, I assess through the face-to-face interview. For the question, do you practice resistant training? If the answer was affirmative, the adolescent was asked how long you've been practicing resistant training and how many days a week. For the intensity of individual physical activity, a priori analysis during a whole week, researchers directly measure the physical activity through the sensor attached to the chest at the high on the heart with a polar H7 model. And for the intensity, the time training volume and spend different intensities, taking account the heart rate max, light, moderate, and vigorous. Covariate as anthropometric body composition was assessed. Anthropometric measure as body weight, height, and sitting height. For body composition assessed using a dual energy exercise rate absorptiometry scanner for length of tissue, body fatness, and body weight was assessed. For the adjustment variable, I take into account biological maturation, that was the peak height velocity, estimated by using a mathematical model by Moore, based on the anthropometric measures that I mentioned before. So the negative value denotes that individual has not yet passed the peak height velocity. The positive value denotes that the individual already has passed, and the zero value denotes that the individual is on the peak of the height velocity. This is a normal routine of our collect of the measures and the follow-up process. The invitation to the participation in the study was made, the delivery of the consent and assent forms, and then the adolescent registration into the ABCD database system, and then conducting all the measurements at the university laboratory. Later, we This manuscript, I split into groups: the swimming group and the other sports. Swimming group composed by 18 adolescents, and the other sport group for 45 adolescents. At the first step, I plotted the Kaplan-Meier figure, the number of events over the time for the follow-up. And then I adjust the model by sex and maturation. For a second instance, I put all the adolescents into a linear regression model with a dependent variable as the number of the events, that in this case is pain. Independent variable was sport participation, volume, and resistance training and vigorous, adjusted by sex, age, and peak high velocity. Here we have the general characteristic of the sample according to the engagement in sport, 63. In the left column we have swim adolescents and the other sport group on the right column. As we can see, they was quite similar regarding general characteristics, but when we see the sport participation variable as about section, frequency, days, week, and volume, weekly volume exists in a high difference between the both groups, specifically higher for the swimming group. And the other big difference was specifically in the segments, that was neck, shoulder, and trunk, being that the swimming group report more events in these segments. At the figure 1, we have all the sample. We can see the prevalence, the pain among adolescents. As you can see, the first 4 column was the most prevalent segments that registered pain. That was low back, hips, ankle, and feet, shoulder. And here we have a comparison between the both groups for was the most affected segments, that was shoulders, neck, and trunk. Here we have a Kaplan-Meier plot. We can see through all the follow-up, the 28 weeks for the pain events. We can appreciate that the swimming group present a higher risk for reporting pain events during the 28 weeks follow-up. The same thing is for shoulder pain. We can see that the swimming group present a higher risk to present more pain events comparing with the other sports. And the same was for the trunk, that the swimming report more risk regarding to the other sports. Here we have the model of innovation. I put in the model the segments, the pain events, and the sport variables. As you can see, the most relevant variable that was associated was the training volume, with a positive association with a middle size effect. And we had an interesting result that was a vigorous physical activity that was a negative. We think that the most of the adolescents was practicing vigorous intensity during the training was in a short period, and this is why we can explain that result. So the conclusion was that the adolescent swimmers report more pain than adolescents engaged in other sports, and the training volume was the most relevant variable into this phenomenon. For the second specific objective, that was to compare the incidence of pain between adolescents engaged and not engaged in sport participation, allows us to explore the role of sex, biological maturation, and parameters of sport participation into this association. The title was Association between Sport Participation and Incidence of Pain in Adolescents, ABCD group study. The current stage is ready for submission, and the language is English. So for this, I split up the sample into big groups: the sport group and the control group, that was the adolescents that not participate in any sport. they composed for sport group 63, and the control group was for 32 persons. As I didn't at the manuscript first, I made a comparison between both groups at the plotted Kaplan-Meier figure. And the second stage, I used a bivariate correlation model with a dependent variable number of events and the independent variable as sport variables as intensity and total time. And then for my final model into the linear regression, I was used the number of events, and my independent variable was the sport, specifically for volume and vigorous intensity. This model was adjusted by sex, age, length of tissue, and sedentary behavior. We can appreciate the table here, table 1, general sample characteristics. Both groups present quite similar general characteristics, but the difference was specifically into the resistance training. Sport participation report more resistant training, and not for the percentage of pain, but yes for the number of total events for pain in this specific segment that was shoulder, elbows, hips, and ankles, feet. Here we can appreciate at the Kaplan-Meier plot that sport represents more events, pain events during the 28 weeks follow-up in shoulders and elbow. As the same for ankles, feet, and the hips. For my bivariate correlation between intensity and pain, we can appreciate that the vigorous intensity show us a correlation specifically for wrists and hands, ankles and feet, and almost all the segments present a correlation, a small correlation with the total times. Considering the total time, the summary of light and moderate and vigorous intensity during the whole week. Here to my final model, that was a relationship between pain and sport participation and recovery rates. Model adjusted by sex, somatic maturity, length of tissue, sport modality, and sedentary behavior. The total time continued to be the principal variable that was associated with pain events. Considering neck, shoulder, trunk, elbow, wrist, and ankle. And vigorous intensity show us to an association regarding pain events during the 28 weeks follow-up. So in summary, weekly volume of sport participation was associated with the increase in pain events. Furthermore, this relationship is not influenced by sex or maturity. So the conclusion to my thesis was, this thesis present innovative aspects in development and implementation of pain surveillance system related to the adolescent's growth and development process, finding that the relationship between pain continue to have a close relationship with the sport participation, even considering with the somatic growth factor adjustment variable. Confirming our initial hypothesis, sport participation affect the incidence of pain among adolescents, in which adolescents engaged in the sport report more pain events than those adolescents not engaging. Partially confirm our initial hypothesis that harmful association observed between sport participation and incidence of pain relied more on weekly volume of training than physical exercise intensity. That in our initial hypothesis supported that the role of both volume and intensity in this model. Partially confirmed our initial hypothesis that sex did not affect the association between sport participation and pain events among adolescents. As the same for biological maturation, did not affect the association between participation and pain events among adolescents. Additionally, there are certain particularities among different sports in which some sports seem to be more prone to promote pain events than another. And what about the future research? Pain and component of sport participation were essentially related to a small magnitude in our models, explaining poorly pain among these adolescents, denoting the participation for other not controlled variables. Thus, assuming the natural and intrinsic variables inserted into the pain, future studies should be focused on clarify the main determinants of pain among adolescents. And this is a recommendation to home. In the context of the sport participation in adolescents, training volume is shown to be relevant variable affecting the appearance of pain. Although the sport is in the first 2 decades of is strongly recommended, there is a limit that must be respected to preserve the physical integrity of adolescents. Thank you so much to the evaluation board, Dr. FRANCIELE Marquez, Dr. Christian Betancourt, Dr. Jefferson Cardoso, Dr. Maimунova, Dr. Hagen. To my supervisor, RÓMULO FERNANDES, all the adolescents of the sample of my research, parents and coaches, my team here, the UNESP employees, and to my family, Colombian and Brazilian family. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Thiago. Well, Santiago, 27 minutes, that's the time. I think you can stop the sharing, please. Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, after Santiago's presentation, we can start the second phase of this process, in which Santiago will receive the final comments of the members of the jury. To be honest, that's a new dynamic in our research program, in which we have all the discussion of the thesis before the final presentation, so you guys had access to the final document, provide us feedback, and we try to address all these comments. That's the new dynamic. So feel free to interact with the candidate if you desire, or just give final comments. So it's open. So you guys are free to interact with the candidate or not. Okay. We have 5 members here. If you guys agree, I use a non-conventional approach to decide who's gonna be the first one. In this case, the distance, how far is from our campus. If you guys agree, the order would be Professor Christian, because he is in Australia right now. After that, Professor Marta. After Professor Everett, Professor Jefferson, and finally Professor Francielli. Do you guys agree with this order? Okay, thank you very much. You guys are so kind. So, Professor Christian, I need this information here. Sorry. So, Professor Christian Bittencourt Soares Oliveira, he's representing the Faculty of Medicine and Health at the University of Sydney. Professor Christian, thank you very much for being here today. I know it's a little bit stressful for you because you are 13 hours forward in time zone. So thank you very much for being part of this process for Santiago. So feel free to interact with the candidate if you want. Thank you very much, Professor Christian.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate, actually, for inviting me for the second time, because I also participated from the qualification as well. So it's a really honor being here, actually. And I just want to, before I start, I just want to say hello for members of the panel as well. Nice to meet you, Everett, Marta, and Jefferson. And it's really great to see you again, Francielli. And to be honest, with 5 minutes, I'm going to be really, really brief, I just have a really brief comments about your presentation and about your whole thesis. I think that I gave you a lot of trouble already, not replying, and taking a long time to reply as well. So I'm sorry about that. But I think that you did a really great job in the presentation, in your thesis. And I think that your presentation was really clear. You have a really, it's really hard. It's really challenging for us as well. Like, you speak, I think that 3 languages, like clear, you speak really well. Spanish, Portuguese, and English. So it's really like it's really different, and so it's really good as well. So I just want to congratulate as well for the presentation itself. I have just one comment, and it's going to be a question. I just want to say another thing first. I have already accepted, I have already approved everything your process. So saying that, I have one comment. I saw your thesis and I saw all your work that you've done in your PhD. So you published like 15 papers, 4 as a first author. And in your thesis, you included just 2 papers. My question is, like, I saw the other papers and I saw that they were kind of related with the same topic that you were that you focus on your thesis. So I just want to ask for you, what was the reason that you chose these 2 papers for the thesis and not all your other first authors papers that you have published? And just saying that, I just want to say another thing, like, it's really great the job that you've done in your PhD, like 15 papers, 4 as first author is quite good. Like, it's a really good metric. And I think you already have a lot of other papers submitted as well. I saw in the thesis as well, so it's quite good. And I think that you have exposed yourself to a lot of methods, different methods in all your studies. So I think that this is what we want for a PhD student, considering the experience that they want to have after the PhD in the academic career as a researcher or as a lecturer. So I think that's amazing what you've achieved. And yeah, I just had this thing with me when I saw your thesis. I didn't want to ask you by email. I just it was something. It was a comment that I was saving for the presentation. So, what was the reason that you chose just these 2 papers instead of like the other 4 papers that were also related to your thesis?
I think it's a context. Okay. First, because this result was the result of the 28 weeks follow-up. The last one paper that I published in 2018 was a result of my master's. Even Professor Eber is author. So I want to bring I want to bring into these 2 papers all that I learned in the past, clarifying, knowing the difference between what is sport injury and what is actually pain among adolescents, because exists a big difference between them. And 2, because the program needs at minimum two papers. This is not going to be 2 papers. I'm going to try to work in another ideas with the data, but for the time I have to I think about these 2 ideas that I present today. So I think that is the thing that I think for this.
Yeah, I think that's, if you wanna, like, I don't know, just make it clear in the presentation of the thesis, that would be good as well. Like, what was the reason that you chose to include just these 2 papers as well in the thesis? And I have just a second question, my final question for you. It's just like, what are the next steps? What are you thinking? So after you get your PhD and everything, what are the plans?
I really don't know. I have some things that I have to think about it, because that's going to change my life. Propose are in the table, but I have to choose the most better for me. But one thing that I really want to my future is both things, as you say, the lecture and research. I think this is part of the process, and I studied so hard during nine years to continue the example of my supervisor. So this is I think that the plan.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Santiago. And yeah, you did a really great job. Awesome job in the thesis, in the presentation. I don't have many comments. I don't want to put you in a spot here, but you did a really awesome job. And it's really great to see, because I think I know you since the masters, and I saw all the progress that you have done so far. So that's really great to see that. And I look forward for the next steps, for the next plans as well. And hope that I wish you all the best as well. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Christian. Going to the second member of the jury, I'd like to ask Professor Marta Guiminova. She is representing the Masarykova University here today. So Marta, thank you very much for being here today. Had the opportunity to visit our lab, our campus, time ago. So we are a member of the family anyway. So thank you very much for being here, and feel free to interact with Santiago, make your comments, interact. I don't know. So you have your 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Wait a second. What?
Sorry, guys, some technical issues.
Não entendi.
Em vez de você estender a tela, for duplicado, você deixa uma só.
Okay, just 1 second, guys.
Esqueci. Sorry, Professor.
Give me 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you. And congratulations, Santiago, for your presentation and also for your thesis. You did a great job. Also, your supervisor, I guess, was a great help during the process.
A lot.
I was really, yeah, I was really amazed by your thesis, comparing you and PhD students here in the Czech Republic. And you make a valuable insight into the field of pain in adolescent and the sports participation. So I'm looking forward for your future papers and future research. And I wish you good luck with your future career, whatever you choose. And as well as Professor Christian, I was really amazed by the number of papers you participated in, and also the number of papers you led as the first author. You did a great job during your studies, I'm sure of it. And yeah, I really appreciate all the hard work.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Marta Guiminova. So the next member is Professor Herbert Verhagen. Professor Herbert is representing the Department of Public Health and Occupational Health in Amsterdam, UMC, location UMC. So Professor Herbert, actually, Santiago had the opportunity to stay with Professor for 4 months in 2018. So Professor Herbert was really important in the process. So this phase of Santiago's career is finishing right now, the PhD, but Professor Herbert was a really important character in all this process in the big picture. So Professor Herbert, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Please feel free to interact with the candidates.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure on me, I must say. A great honor, Santiago, to also be part of this part of your career, so to say. I remember really well, probably you remember as well, walking in the office, which looked a little bit different 6 years ago. We were all a bit younger and a bit blue, probably. I think the last picture I have of us was at the brewery having a beer, remember, at the windmill. So that kind of sums up the time here 6 years ago. But I see that, you know, the learning progress you started back then, you've continued through exponentially. And you know, some of the discussions we had while you were here, they sipped into your thesis, and you defended that well. You've written it down well, and of course, there's always questions to ask and different opinions to have. And I think we've discussed this, and also, you know, in replying to your thesis and what you've shown today, you've shown me your growth and also your ability to reflect on the things you do, and that's a great commendment. And you know, please keep doing this, continuing doing this wherever, whenever. Hopefully this topic, because it's really important. You clearly stipulated that. But yes, it's a good asset to have you in this realm. Congratulations, and probably this is not the last time we talk with each other on this topic. So that's all.
Thank you very much, Professor Ever. The next member of the jury is Professor Jefferson Cardoso. Professor Jefferson Cardoso, he is representing the Department of Physical Therapy of Londrina State University. It's not that far from here, but it's far from Professor Francielle. She is a member of our research program. So Professor Jefferson, actually Professor Jefferson is affecting so much of our work here in the lab because he was my professor during my master's. So he is a reference in terms of statistics for all of us here. And everything we have done over the last years has the impact of all this time that I had with Jefferson in Londrina. So Professor Jefferson, thank you very much for being here today. So feel free to interact with the candidate, okay?
Okay, wow, I'm so happy. Good morning, everyone, or goeiemorgen, if you prefer it in Dutch. Greetings from Londrina or Little London. If you don't know where is Londrina, just figure out that I am in the Little London. That's the same thing. I'd like to express my gratitude for participating in this sublime moment to Santiago, though. And for the supervisor, my friend, Professor Fernandes, a good friend, and also a pleasure to be here with the group of assessors committee, okay? If I only have 5 minutes, okay, let's get straight to the point, though. There are countless positive points there to this thesis. And the final message is a lesson for coaches and parents, though. Maybe I can say a warning or a red flag, because participation in sport events has a price. And this price seems high for human health. That's what I understand from your thesis, though. The volume of training in the way also matters. That's my take-home message. As for the thesis itself, Santiago, I'd like to say that I fully understand that the setbacks or pitfalls that Santiago has gone through. Surviving a pandemic is something that only few can do. Just remember, this only few can do. Nevertheless, I must confess something that is only Though, nevertheless, I must confess that I miss the definition of pain. Which pain you're talking about? I asked you to write down or to scratch. So, are you talking about the nociceptive neuropathic or nociplastic pain? I fully understand the application of the Nordic questionnaire, but when I look at the conclusion of the thesis and I see the participation in the sports and volume matters, I'd like to try to understand what type of pain leads to this report that you brought to us. And do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Did you get it? My message? That's the first one. The other point is that the sample size calculation should be presented at least in the limitations of both studies. Because when I read the two hypotheses were partially confirmed, I can think of a type 2 error. That is, it was not possible to identify or even answer the two research questions about the harmful association observed between sports participation and incidence of pain, relied more on weekly volume of training than on physical exercise intensity. That sex and biological maturation did not affect both the occurrence of pain. Did you get it? So you have two hypotheses that you partially, partially confirm it. So maybe the reason was the type 2 error. So you should assume as a possible error or a possible limitation and the end of the thesis or the limitation. No, so assume that's, I don't know why, because I asked you for, but you need to talk with Mr. Fernandes. And the third brainstorm or message I'd like to mention that is every time you use advanced stats analysis or more robust calculation, it's the candidate's obligation to make it more palatable and go into more depth in the explanation. Of course, ensure that the readers and recipients of this thesis, coaches in particular, are able to extract the most out of all the knowledge produced for you, because you make all efforts for being here and present this thesis. And you know the definition of pain. That's I'm comfortable because you know exactly what does it mean pain. And the other hand of the athletes they are complaining for. So to wrap up, I much appreciate for being here with you, Santiago, colleagues, and Professor Fernandes. I deeply wish you success in your next journey. Think that being centered is something that opens doors. And what I can only say is that you break a leg, pow. Okay, that's it, break a leg.
Thank you very much, Professor Jefferson. And the last but not the least, Professor FRANCIELE VANDERLEI. Professor FRANCIELE was member of the, how can I call, the qualification process that Professor Christian was here today. They were the first two members to see the thesis, I don't know, 3 years ago, I don't remember when, and gave initial feedback, and based on these feedbacks, we created this final comment that you guys had access. So Professor FRANCIELE, thank you very much. He's representing the Department of Physical Therapy, is member of our research program. So Professor Francielli, thank you very much for being here today. So feel free to interact with the candidate.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My camera is freezing. Sorry about that. And I will read my opinion with final considerations. Initially, I would like to thank the postgraduate program in movement science for accepting my name to be part of the exam, as well as a special way to Professor RôMULO and Santiago. It is a pleasure to be participating in this moment. The candidates presented good theoretical material with, after adjustment, improved in quality and especially in its organization. Furthermore, a manuscript was presented that is already accepted by publication, by Pediatric Exercise Science, and that is great. I found the approach to collecting data of pain in young people interesting. Considering memory bias, working with irregular times, and with daily contacts after receiving the questionnaire. I still believe that the continued use of medication, such as painkillers or anti-inflammatories, or specific techniques, for example, recovery, could have been better explored. I understand that the pain occurs first, but the pain may be masked in subsequent days or subsequent week, for example. The oral and writing material demonstrated the candidate involvement and the dedication to research and the laboratory, in addition to having the potential to be published in major journal. With of this, I am satisfied with that the candidate present. I am available for an assistance, and I ended my speech by congratulating Santiago on this doctorate journal and the journey, and the Professor RôMULO for leading this entry process. I wish you much success for you. Congratulations, and this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Francielli. So right now we have finished time for the final comments of the members of the jury. I will stop the recording right now. Just give me 1 second.
Need to go up.
Okay. So I will ask to the audience and also to the candidate to have time of privacy with the members of the jury in order to discuss your future. So get out of here.
Okay, bye.
And when I finish, I will call you. No worries. So guys, please give us some time to discuss. in order to give this, can you guys hear me well? Okay. I will recording again because right now you give the final decision of the members of the jury to Santiago. So I have to record this. So give me 1 second, please. Tá no YouTube de novo? Okay, Google Meet is a little bit slower than usual. Come on. Okay, right now is recording. Okay, Professor Jefferson is back. Okay. So, Santiago, after all the process, so you had 4 years of PhD. After these 4 years, you created this thesis and you presented this thesis today. After your presentation, and you talked with the members of the jury, and the members of the jury had the opportunity to review all the document before, and we just scheduled this final presentation after they released us to do that. So after your presentation, you have a moment to sit and discuss about your future, about your performance, and all the work you've done during this, not just the presentation, but all the document. And it was a tough discussion, I have to say. It wasn't easy, but the final decision was to approve you. So you approved in your final presentation of PhD. Before give you the opportunity to talk and maybe to say something that made you change the final decision, I don't know. So I just would like to say, I remember our first talk 9 years ago when you were in Colombia, desiring to start the masters. I remember that terrible connection was anyway, but I decided to accept you in my lab, starting your academic career here. During the masters, we had the scholarship. You had the opportunity to go to Netherlands and work and interact with Professor Evert. And I have to say thank you to Professor Evert because this experience was a turning point to Santiago. So I can see clearly how different he became to Brazil. So thank you very much for this experience, for this opportunity to Santiago. After Santiago finished his master's, he decided to start the PhD. And remembering all his family was in Colombia, so he spent a lot of time in Brazil. And I know how hard it is because when I go to abroad, the maximum time I was there 8 months and never long. So Santiago spent years here far from his family. So, and I appreciate this effort and also the confidence that you rely on me for your information. So we start the PhD. We had plans, and our plans had to change. We didn't get the scholarship, was tough. I remember how depressed we were. We had COVID during all this tough time. We lost beloved ones, we lost friends, and it was terrible. And you were here so far from your family. I remember all this, and when I look at you right now, finishing your PhD, presenting in English, that's not your mother language and neither mine, but you accept the challenge. Was tough, but you did great. So when I look for all this incredible journey that you had here with us, I just can say to you, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this incredible journey. So I don't have powers to see the future. I don't know what the future has to you, But remember, doesn't matter the next step. You always have family and friends, and you have a home here in Presidente Prudente. Okay? So as supervisor, as friend, I just can desire you the best for you, because you are an amazing guy, and all you have done. So you can see a lot of people here watching you, supporting you, because they love you, and you deserve that. Okay, so Santiago, thank you very much for this, for the opportunity to be here and to participate of this incredible journey. Okay, so feel free to talk. You have 5 minutes. Be careful, because depending your speech, you can change the final decision. So use your time wisely. Okay.
Too much pressure, Professor Fernandes.
No pressure at all.
I think that I wanted to prove the protocol. We have to speak in 3 languages right now.
You have to share. You're not sharing.
Só para que eu compartilhe aqui.
Just share your presentation.
Calma aí.
More technical. Sorry, guys.
Não, tá na sua.
Relaxei.
Vai lá na janela.
Safadinho.
Okay. Just make wider.
Dispensar. What?
Bigger. Make bigger.
Ixi, não, calma aí.
What is it?
Momento. Sim?
Yes. Yes.
Ixi, calma aí. Pratiquei muito isso, muitas vezes na minha cabeça. A mis padres, John, Jair y Claudia, a mi hermana Juliana, esposo Juan Pablo, mis sobrinos Praga y Figo, por todo el amor y el esfuerzo y sacrificios para mi educación. Pocas pessoas sabem, minha avó, ela faleceu semana passada. Então, essa aqui é uma menção especial para ela. Uma menção especial para mim, mamita Consuelo. Gracias por todo. É inevitável não sentir nostalgia ao escrever essa parte da tese, e é impossível escrever tantas pessoas que tornaram tudo isso possível. Eu não vou negar, procurei uma frase motivadora para tentar explicar tudo o que eu sinto, porém é muito difícil e complexo ficar em uma única frase. Que eu sei que eu posso começar agradecendo tudo que representa meu processo no Brasil, pessoas, lugares e experiências. Se me hace difícil no empezar por mi familia, porque fueron ellos los que me abrazaron mi loca idea de viajar para otro país, conocer una cultura nueva para construir un ser nuevo. A mis padres, John, Claudia, gracias por ahí siempre, pendiente de mí, llenándome de coraje desde lejos, mandando besos y bendiciones todos los días para que yo consiguiera todos mis objetivos y ser feliz. Mi hermanita Juliana, por ser siempre certera en los consejos cada vez que buscaba su abrazo. La excelencia da las oportunidades, ¿te acuerdas? Gracias. A minha família paterna, por estar sempre atenta, mesmo longe, sempre avisar as melhores energias. A minha namorada Amanda, que passou mais de 1 ano e pouco compartilhando as melhores experiências comigo, com vocês. Vocês estou vivendo momentos que me tornam um ser melhor, um ser humano melhor. Você está sempre me incentivando diante das adversidades. Obrigado por cuidar de mim e trazer leveza nessa fase tão importante. Obrigado por conspirar para me fazer feliz. Faço extensos meus agradecimentos, família. Margarete e Gustavo. Pela atenção ao meu processo e por me fazer sentir parte da família. A família Trindade, Sino, Morim, obrigado. É difícil lembrar quantas pessoas investiram e confiaram em mim no meu processo, tanto quanto o professor Rômulo até hoje. Se me deixar desistir em certos momentos difíceis, 8 anos se passaram desde a minha entrevista em Medellín. Mesmo com minha voz trêmula, não sei o que se passava na cabeça dele quando viu esse potencial em mim. Foram 8 anos de muito trabalho e dedicação, conhecimento, que me fizeram realizar grandes sonhos desde que eu cheguei ao Brasil. Obrigado, não só pelo voto de confiança desde o início, mas também por me inspirar a me permitir sonhar. Estendo meu agradecimento também à professora Jamile, Mel e Manu, pelo carinho e confiança depositados em mim. Agradeço aos professores Luiz Gobo e Diego Leite, que desde o começo me fizeram sentir bem-vindo, estendendo uma mão amiga para mim. Obrigado a uma pessoa especial que desde o primeiro momento permitiu minha ponte ao Brasil e contribuiu ao meu processo que até hoje cuida de longe. Obrigado, Carlão. Todas as pessoas que começaram como colegas da Unesp, que hoje posso chamar de amigos, obrigado pelo incentivo, pela dedicação. Leica, Monique, Bárbara, Neto, Karine. Quero agradecer também ao professor Fábio Lira, agradecimentos sensíveis à sua grande família, Sabrina, Saiki, por me ajudar em momentos críticos durante meu processo de doutorado e pelo conhecimento compartilhado. Por fazer uma mudança importante na minha vida, é necessário movimentar uma engrenagem, mas isso exige tempo, paciência e muita força. Nunca esquecerei dessas palavras. Agradeço também à professora Bonaturi, que em algum momento do meu processo sempre esteve disponível para ajudar, resultando em troca de conhecimentos que fazem ainda hoje parte dos meus fundamentos em pesquisa. Ao professor Doutor Jefferson Cardoso, compartilho comigo grandes conhecimentos e sempre de forma humilde, buscando incentivar discussões fundamentadas sobre ciência, enriquecendo ainda mais minha formação como pesquisador. Obrigado. A todos os grandes pesquisadores que compõem a banca, pesquisadores que admiro muito, o professor Christian, a professora Franciele, professora Marta, muito obrigado por tudo. Professor Ever também, obrigado por contribuir com seu tempo e conhecimento no meu treinamento. Aos meus amigos que desempenharam o papel de família durante os 8 anos, o Yuri Ventura, Pedro Narciso, Rafael Luiz de Marco, Raoni, João Lucas, Eduardo Pereira, o Eli Torres, professor Ricardo Gostinetti. Não faltam risadas, brigas, incentivos, conversas sobre a vida e muita paciência durante todo o meu processo. Eles estiveram presentes em todos os momentos bons e ruins, me mostrando amor e companhia. Obrigado, eu amo vocês, meus irmãos. Uma menção especial ao meu grande amigo de batalhas e parceiro na execução do meu projeto de doutorado, safado, Wesley. Meu amigo, sem você isso teria sido muito difícil. Obrigado por me trazer compreensão e leveza com todo o meu processo. Obrigado por essa mão amiga e por me ajudar na confissão dessa tese. Safado, obrigado. Todos os jovens que fizeram parte do projeto ABCD e Grass Studies, seus cuidadores, pais, familiares, obrigado pela grande compreensão e receptividade durante todos os anos de pesquisa. Obrigado pela confiança. Todos aqueles que já foram e são membros do grupo de investigação científica relacionado à atividade física. Por todo o trabalho em equipe, dedicação e desempenho ao longo desses 8 anos de parceria. O projeto de doutorado não se faz sozinho. Sua ajuda foi essencial para o desenvolvimento desse grande projeto. Minha gratidão, vocês sempre. Aos funcionários da Unesp, obrigado pela disposição, orientação, quando sempre precisei de ajuda. Uma menção especial ao meu amigo André Shinohara, pela grande gentileza e atendimento. Obrigado. Por fim, no menos importante, agradeço a CAPES pela bolsa de doutorado concebida ao longo da minha trajetória. Obrigado pelo apoio financeiro, que foi fundamental e tornou possível o meu projeto de pesquisa. Além disso, conforme previsto pela CAPES, isso não precisa ser feito. Não, já, obrigado. Já.
Congratulations, Santiago.
Thank you very much.
You are approved. You are. Before we actually finish, I will stop the recording right now. Just give me 1 second, please. You can stop.
I think that you need to record final approbation, but because you did not approve it though. That's most important in the process. You must record the approbation or not, because he had a time again to say some words. I was wondering why Spanish though, or English.
Yeah, that's a trick issue
No,
right
it's
now.
not.
Now I understood your question for him. Well, you have 5 minutes more, and then it depends of what you're talking about. So you're gonna prove or not? No, I got it. So in Spanish, no. Capiche? In Spanish, no, capiche.
I think we can vote.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, please, before I finish officially this publication, we need to take some pictures here. So we have a screen here with all you guys. So I will be there with Santiago in order to take this picture. So big smile, please. Let's go, Santiago. Here. On three. Okay. So guys, we took a lot of pictures, so thank you very much. So once more, thank you very much for all you guys to be here. You guys spent a lot of time helping us during the process. You guys were here assisting us in this final moments of Santiago's PhD. Thank you very much. I hope to see you guys in the future. So Marta, Professor Everett. Actually, I don't meet Professor Everett yet in person, so I think we can maybe one pediatric work physio. I don't know, maybe in the future, but maybe bringing you here to Brazil for a short academic visit. But I hope to meet you in person. Professor Kemper always talk a lot about you, and yes, and you guys are a big reference in some aspects you are investigating. So I hope to meet you in person. And see Marta again, Professor Jefferson, Fran, we are always seeing every day, and Professor Christian as well. So thank you very much for being here today to participate in this important process to Santiago. And I hope to see you guys in the soon future, okay? So Santiago, any final words?
Thank you so much.
Oh, in English, that's great.
Parabéns, Santiago.
Gracias.
Now it's too late. Now it's too late. Hasta la vista, baby.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Santiago. Valeu.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Felicidades, Santiago.
Bye, Marta.
Bye, adios.
Yes.